show this quick video to actually explain the definition. Let's hope it goes, Deb.
No worries.
Can you see it?
Nope. Maybe because you're sharing your PowerPoint screen and not the video screen.
Okay, let me see.
If not, it might not work.
All right, let me see what I can do here.
As tech savvy as I am, there are some things that completely stump me. There you go. Try open and then maybe reshare your screen.
Hopefully this works. Can you see it?
Nope. No sale.
I can hear it.
Yeah, because I think the screen you're sharing is your PowerPoint and it's not sharing the video screen. You might have to stop and restart. Or if you want, you can just tell us.
I'll see if I can find it again. I am not tech savvy, but I worked really hard on this project. All right.
Denise, why is this important to you?
This is important because, can you see any of this? I want to stop it so I can. Give me a second to fix this. Okay.
While you're
hear
working,
any of it?
Nope.
I can. It's driving me insane. The reason this is important is because I have aphasia. It was almost in 2015, I had a major stroke. It was ischemic and hemorrhagic. I was in the hospital for about a month. What happened was the left side of my brain was totally damaged, and I was unable to see on the right, walk on the right, and talk. Most of the common words I would use would be any men. Let me try to fix this again. I'm getting annoyed.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry.
Hey, the best laid plans of mice and men, right?
Has anybody known about aphasia?
Oop. I think she logged herself out. So I happen to have met Denise before COVID, not long after she had had her stroke and still had aphasia. And we became friends, and she has really heightened my awareness of when we're speaking with people who may have aphasia, the difficulties that they can have in getting their words out or seeing or reading, those kinds of things that you don't necessarily think of. And what is that like when, hold on, let me just let her know. You logged yourself out. And what does that look like when we're trying to help people? You know, like we were saying last week, that there's the folks who have the autopilots running on this right now, and that's really helpful. But there are other individuals who have different kinds of aphasia that make even reading the transcript more difficult. Now, one of the interesting things is from Denise's presentation last month, we learned that there's a lot of different technology out there that can help you be able to navigate better when you do have aphasia. Let's see. Where are you? So we'll see what happens if she can make it back. We've been really looking forward to this, but one of the things that I'm not 100% sure of, and you would think after like COVID that I would be really good at helping people share their screens on Zoom, but doesn't really work. So I'm just trying to help her get back in. But when you think about the HIPAA protections that come so that you can't share information with a loved one. If someone has just had a stroke and they have to say, call to make a follow-up appointment with their doctor. Well, if you can't speak, you are not going to be able to make that call to your doctor for the follow-up. And if you don't have a HIPAA release with the physician, the doctor may not be able to speak with your spouse. This has come into play. I've gotten calls on this from spouses who are trying to navigate to get systems set up, appointments, whatever. And the insurance company won't talk to them because they're not on a HIPAA release for the health insurance to be able to talk to you. When I first met Denise, there would be gaps in the way that her communication would flow. And when we are working with our clients, it's really important to understand that they have a right to receive information in a language and in a manner that they understand. And so that can include using a variety of different technologies and communication tools. I think sometimes we think about communication tools when we think about perhaps children with autism. They may have a communication book. The similar ideas can be used for adults if you can find the information that has been most relevant to them in their life. You can include images that they can point to if necessary, because it's not necessarily that the brain is not thinking about what the answer is. It's a breakdown between the brain and the ability to communicate what's going on in the brain. I've seen some things that were really cool from a scientific standpoint. One time I worked at the Providence VA hospital, and they had something called the brain gate. And they had two individuals who had severe brain injuries. They were able to connect this headset that worked with the brain waves that allowed the individuals to be able to use a computer to talk to people. And yet the individuals themselves were not able to speak at all. So it's still happening. It's not a lack. Hey, far. I was just explaining how I've known you for a while and the different ways aphasia can impact people. And that it's not a loss of intellect. It's that disconnection in the communication to be able to answer when people have questions. And not getting a video to play in a PowerPoint has nothing to do with it.
And apparently Google just asked me to verify it's me and shut me off.
Oh, hey, that's good fun.
Yeah, so it's like I had to.
I guess we just got to wing it.
Right. Can you see the PowerPoint now?
Nope.
Can you share it, Deb?
I can. Yes, I can. Hold on. Let me bring up your PowerPoint.
Put it on share.
Save and open. And
Well, again, back to what I was explaining, I do have aphasia. I had the stroke in 2015. I've improved over the years. My speech has improved dramatically, that people often don't know that I have aphasia. But you're pretty obvious that I do have some type of challenge right now. And what it does, it affects some of my communication and cognitive skills.
Can you see it? Can you see your slides?
I can see it. Yep. Can you go to number 3? No, number 5. Number 5.
There we go.
Okay, this is what I was talking about. There's a website here. I'm sure Deb and I will be able to send you the link. It's on TED Talk. Aphasia is different types. I have anomic aphasia. My speech is improved, but I still really challenge with reading and writing. And I also have a peripheral vision challenge. Other people with Broca and Wernicke can also talk about, oh, this is, it's asking me for something. Yes, that's fine. All right. So anyhow, there's very different types. So you can actually talk about words, but they come out a little bit jumbled. It kind of sounds like you may be drinking or not intelligent, but the words are in the brain, but they're coming out a little bit different. Some people aren't able to talk at all, but they can communicate with other tools. And that's why I was invited to come and explain some of the different types of tools that we use. Okay, number 6, please. Okay, so giving you some data, there are 40% of people who have a stroke, and this is Stroke Awareness Month, have some type of aphasia. People have had a traumatic brain injury, whether it's from a sporting event to falling down to car accident, will have some type of aphasia also. We have the data I've collected from the Rhode Island Department of Health is that we have 2,700 people who have a stroke, and that was in 2021. I think that number is a lot higher now. The data hasn't been collected, but there's more common being talking about people due to clots from COVID. They're seeing that increasing more. Again, stroke is affected by any age. It's not your grandparents' stroke. People at the age of young age, we've even had babies have strokes, but any age can have it. I was at the age of 48 years old having my stroke. We don't know why I had one, but they have estimated that most of the common problem that it caused my clotting was due to trying a birth control. I had some perimenopause issues, and they figured take this really mild birth control and that would help. It was within 6 months of taking that med, I had a stroke. So that's something that you say it's cautious, may happen, but I think women should be aware of that. It is possible for you to have that. The other thing is the traumatic brain injury. The data is really collecting a lot more now. They're asking all the hospitals to record any type of accident that people have that will indicate some type of traumatic brain injury or in the area of traumatic brain injury. And as you can see right now, Rhode Island Department of Health has 18,000 more having this information recorded since 2016 to 2021. So it is really happening out there. People are living with aphasia. People just don't know how to explain it or to explain what communication disorder actually affects those type of issues.
And when you say traumatic brain injury, I just want to interrupt. Does that include like concussions, like the things that we think is like a bump in the head and maybe not a big deal? Because sometimes I think traumatic brain injury, I think like car accident or like a fall down the stairs.
Oh, it can be a mild concussion from playing a sport, and you say, oh, it's a concussion, it's a TBI, let's check it out. But it can be something that will not, you could be a mild aphasia, start talking about not finding a word, really pause to find it. One of the way I like to describe it is if you hear something in your head, you remember that, you really remember that. It's on the tip of your tongue. You know that person's name, you can learn all about them, you know where they are, but for some reason that name is not coming out. That's the tip of your tongue. People with aphasia live like that majority of the time. You know who that person is, you know where they are. You can almost tell a whole story about that person, but you can't say their name. Same with other activities. I have that word we call circumlocution. I have the loss of finding the word more often than not, but I can kind of fake it because I will tell you a great story. I can't tell you, you know, who Denise is. If I can't remember her name, Denise, I'm calling you out here. Is I can say, I know where she's from. I know what office she works at. I know where her office is. I know where we have our meetings. I know how we share the information about people with communication disorders. Specifically, we learned about the phone. So I could tell somebody all about that, but for some reason, her name won't come out of my mouth. So that's kind of the way it happens for me. Some people can't even say it at all. But yeah, it can be from a child having a car accident getting hit playing soccer. You can actually just bang your head up against a wall by accident. You know, you tip over, you're falling and you hit something. You get taken care of about when you fell, and then you talk about the leg that hurt, but you also had an impact on your head, and you're not really addressing that because the leg might be hurting more. And then later on, you might say, why am I having such a hard time saying that? Why is that happening? Go back to a doctor, check it out. It may be some type of brain injury. The other description I like to talk about aphasia is if you go to a country, say we go to China, and I know I want to go to the bathroom, I know I want to eat, but I can't tell people that because I don't speak Chinese. So does that make me less intelligent because I can't read the menu and because I can't communicate with them? No, it just means I have a communication disorder. So that's kind of a quick way of explaining it. Does anybody have any questions about it? I mean, I'm going really fast and I felt really nervous about losing that PowerPoint. So I think I might have skipped off some of these things, but I'm relaxing a little now. So please ask me if you have any questions or anything you'd like to learn more about.
So here's a question. When we're working with somebody who seems to have aphasia, they're having trouble getting the word out. I know how frustrated I get when something's on the tip of my tongue and I can't get it out. When we're working with somebody who has aphasia, is it easier if we finish the sentences for them or just kind of like do the paperwork for them? Or is that not okay? Like, what's the right thing for us to do?
Like everybody's a little bit different. I know that I can't read and write as quick as I used to. Sometimes I will use an accommodation. I have a reader pen that will read stuff for me. If my reader is not reading it because of lighting or the letters are, see, this is an aphasia. Can't find the aphasia letters are changed different. My reader won't read that, or I would have more of a challenge to read it if it's really fancy writing. That's what I'm saying. So I might say, Deb, can you read that for me? Or I would ask somebody. Some people don't want to do that. They want you to be patient. Let me try it. It's really frustrating to hear that dead silence. I know we all don't like that, but kind of take a breath, give them a chance. And most people, if they want help, they will tell you, give me a hand with that. Kind of like I did with Deb. Deb, find me the PowerPoint. It's going to make me really frustrated instead of actually focusing on what I want to share with you. Again, learn what that person needs help with. Ask them, would you like me to read that for you? Would you like me to help you with that? If not, just be patient. I mean, it is so frustrating. We are in such a fast world right now. Everybody is like ready to go, go, go. And this is one of the things that people with aphasia get anxious about, because usually if you're having a conversation like this, by the time I figure out how I want to say that or find the word, you guys have already gone on to two different topics. And then I've lost what I wanted to share. And then by that time, it just took a lot of time and effort. The brain is exhausted by doing that. So then it gets frustrating. And that's why a lot of people don't go out in the community to where they're being very isolated, to try to explain that and have a communication with people. It's more work than it is to stay at home. So we're trying to get people more involved in the community, have the community more involved with people with aphasia. Our intelligence intact, which is even more frustrating, that we still know things, we still want to be part of the community, we want to do these things, but we just don't seem to be merging yet. And so far, which I really want to share more about, is the technology is making it more accessible. I was glad that Denise showed some of the technology that is available and how the community is now providing these common tools. Things that I'm really excited about is that the voting booth. I've always had to have my reader go on there, and sometimes the way the lighting is in the voting polls, it doesn't read it, which is really hard. So then I have to ask somebody to come in and help me vote. That's kind of my personal thing, and I don't want to work with somebody that had a different opinion of my voting and kind of judge me or kind of lean me in that area to pick a vote. That's not what I want to do. Um, Again, if I go with my husband, which is usually what happens, if we have different politics of opinions, I don't want to go home and have a fight about this, you know? Like, this is it, you know, you vote your way, I vote mine, and we still love each other forever. But again, these are situations where you depend on people to do things for you that you may compromise some of your interest because it's easier for that person. And you want to keep them involved in your life and you want to make them happy too. So these are kind of the things that when you're making decisions with a client or anything, make sure it's what they want, not what their care partner wants, what you're leaning on, what you think's benefit for them, because their opinion actually is they're the ones going to have to live with this. You guys make a decision and go on your own way, but they're the ones that have to stay in that environment, live with aphasia, and really listen to what they want, what their interest is. And how do you do that? That sounds so easy, but it's not when you have a communication disorder. So if we go, this here slide I'm showing you is some of the tools that we use for the various types of aphasia. There's a Lingraphica book. It's a computer that most of the speech pathologists will recommend, and most of that would be covered by some of your insurance. Some of the more technology ones, the insurance doesn't cover it. It would be more effective to use these tools, but unfortunately, we all understand what the frustration is with insurances now. So we do the best we can with what insurance does cover. There's also, so what I do with a lot of the members and what I try to communicate with care partners is that we can't always afford those technologies, or we all don't have them with us all the time. So I try to come up with some common, easier accommodation tools. Some of this is, first of all our smartphones and our computers have come a long way. You have accommodations built into all of these technology now, which I think, you know, it's almost 10 years ago when I had my stroke. We didn't have some of these accommodations, which is great. I can turn on my computer, it reads for me, it will actually help me type. So these are great tools I didn't have access to in the beginning. Now I do. Even if you have your phone, you can find a picture and point to the person what you want. Like, I want to go and get chicken or I want coffee. I can find the picture and just show the person at the store what I want. Before, you'd have to find this Lingraphica tool and this big thing and take with you and try to find it, and it was really cumbersome to do that. So these are some more of the tools that we kind of share that information to people, because what you don't know, you don't know. So this is really important to keep up to date with technology, apps and stuff, so that people can keep using them and be as independent as possible. One of the other things, people draw. We have a classroom with a group we get together, and I have a dry erase board on the thing. And if you can't remember what you're saying or you want to talk about it, you can draw a picture. It'd be amazing how many people can draw with their left hand now when they can't use their right hand. It's pretty amazing. You can write the word. A lot of people can write the word. They know what they're looking for. So writing. We use these boogie boards you'll see over on the right. It's a little pen over there. That's that boogie board is like a, you know, we used to do etch and sketch when we were younger, and you could draw on something and is it etch and sketch? And you pull the paper off and you can write again. We used to draw those cartoons and stuff and pull the tab again. This is kind of like a more modern version of that. So you can write the words on it, or you can ask for help or whatever you need on that. there's a little button up top. You just hit that, boom, and it clears it for you so you can come up with another one. This was really helpful for one of our clients at the hospital. She was by herself. Her care partner and children were with her, and she has she has a no, she has aphasia and apraxia. So talking is really hard for her. And she took this with her to the hospital, and the nurses and we do Zoom with her phone, and she had this board to explain to the nurses when they come in, and they were jumping in going, oh my gosh, how can I get this? This was such a great tool. I can work with this person. If she wanted water or if she wanted the bathroom, she could draw the pictures or she could write the name. And they said it really made her life a lot easier, that her nurses knew what was going on. And the nurses thought this was a great tool. And it's less expensive. I mean, I have a few more left. And what I try to do is I just donate them to a person with aphasia to give them another tool to help them with communication. And you can get these at Staples. You can get at Amazon, and they can be anywhere from, I think, $15 to the bigger ones for over 25. So that one is one of my favorite, is the boogie board. And if you don't have a boogie board, it's just as easy as going to a dollar store and getting one of those dry erase boards and use that. And, and if they're $1, if you can use that and it helps you with communication, it really makes life a little bit easier. So it's be creative with your communication tools. Everything doesn't have to be high tech. Use a gesture, point, up, down. That also goes a long way to find various ways what works for that person for communication. And it is considered a diagnosis of a communication disorder. And as Denise provided the one with the phone, that's really great to have a communication, speech communication that can help people use the phone. That goes so long. I mean, the first year of my stroke, I couldn't even use the phone. And then the second year, when I talked really complicated and weird, I would get hung up on. They would think I was, whatever their opinion was of me, they would hang up. I would have to try 3 times to let them say, I have a disability. I have it, get that word out without being hung up. So just seeing from somebody's point of view about how that disability affects them, it's a very invisible disability, as you can see. You can't tell that by just having a first conversation with me. But as it continues, you can see that some of these things are more challenging for me. We talked about singing. Does anybody know any singer on that other page? Any singer that has aphasia? I think we talk a lot about Randy Travis. He has such a beautiful voice, but for him to have a conversation with his wife, almost impossible. So his wife does a lot of when they do meetings and stuff, or on the shows, she'll do a lot of the communication for him. But if he could sing it, it comes out so nice you wouldn't even know it. So a lot of people with the inflection of their singing could get the words out better. So it sounds like they're trying to be silly or anything, but there's just their way of breathing and getting the words out. So, but that's a great tool, because we do, in the state of Rhode Island, whether you know it or not, we have a music therapy program at URI. It is called Hands in Harmony. And they also run a group for people with aphasia, for the aphasia clefs. And they meet weekly to practice singing, reading, writing. So that is where they write their own lyrics, practice saying it, reading it, and singing it. It's a beautiful program. We also have an unknown thing is at URI, we have a speech and hearing clinic. A lot of people hear about the hearing clinic, which is kind of weird. They hear about the hearing clinic, but the speech program is very unknown, well needed in our state. And It is a free program or a very limited program. So if you ran out of your units for your speech, you can go here. They also have a book club for people with aphasia. And we just have so much more services in Rhode Island that people don't know. And like I keep saying, what you don't know, you don't know. So we need to go out there and communicate with people, share the information, provide the tools. And what I have on my last page here, Deb, is the resources that are available. Here's the one, we already showed that one last week, which was great. And I talked about the voting one. These are the resources we have. Please check out Just Ask website. We have a whole resource page and we keep that updated as possible as we can. Things change so drastically. I might be a little bit behind to get that information because this is a nonprofit. I started it in over 5 years now. We run our aphasia conference every year in June during Aphasia Awareness Month. We provide resources for people with aphasia in Zoom format every Monday night. It's free. The conference is free. And we also have a care partner group. If our care partners don't get the information they need, or they don't get the tools that they need, progressive will be really slow. So we want everybody to keep moving and getting better and being independent as possible. We also invite people to go to the National Aphasia Association website. They have a lot of resources that stay up to date, professionals running it. They have groups for people with aphasia, a whole multiple services that is really needed. I wish I had known about it at the beginning of my stroke because I think it would have been very beneficial. We also have the Lingraphica program. They have programs for people with aphasia, and they can also show you different types of tools and books and news. So there's so many services that are available for people with a communication disorder. And until the professionals go out and provide this information and the resources, it really doesn't do the work. It really, that people with aphasia and a communication order not only just need, they deserve. So I want to thank you all for letting me tell my story and share the information about communication disorders for those with aphasia. And if you have any questions or want to learn more, you can check out our website or you can ask me the questions right now. I have plenty of time and I want to hear more about you. I want to know what you know about aphasia. Was this the first time you've heard information about aphasia? And what did you think of some of the communication tools that are available? And did you know about them?
My name is Jean Shields. How are you today?
Good.
So yes, I'm actually a former 911 paramedic. So I would obviously see a stroke actually possibly happening. And obviously, just want to remind everyone that time is always heart muscle or brain tissue. And if you do have elderly people in your life, if someone in the family could be that person checking in with them at night, and why that's so important, obviously from a loving, caring perspective, but also that gives the staff at the hospital the last known time when the incident may have occurred. So a lot of family members will check in at night or they'll check in first thing in the morning. And then that's when that's a very important that's very important information for the healthcare providers to know when was the last time somebody spoke to this patient. Yeah, so I commend you for doing this. It's one thing to read from a book or a manual, but then it's another perspective to hear from a survivor, especially when it comes to communication. It's just kind of like one of those, you don't kind of know until it happens to you or a loved one, right? yeah, so and then I also I do have personal experience. It was one of my daughters ended up having um from an illness, ended up suffering from world retrieval issues. It was very significant for a year. And yeah, her way of coping was a lot of pointing. Um, or trying to make the connection to another word, so then that word would help, the adult figure out, oh, that's what you're talking about, or maybe even going to retrieve the item. um yeah, so
Excuse me, did they tell you it was aphasia when that happened? Or is
they ended
aphasia
up
like,
there. Yeah, there was a couple different diagnoses. They never used aphasia because it was of a more, if you will, global, a bigger issue. Um, because it was due to an illness. Um, and then with the proper medications, it did help, because there was a lot of inflammation in the brain.
one of the other things I'd recommend people to do if you do have a stroke, you have a communication disorder, please contact your local fire department or emergency. Give them the information about you. If they, like I recently had to go to the I got had a major seizure and had to go to the hospital. And when my husband calls 911, they already know who I am. It's already registered in our local emergency situation. They know I have aphasia. They know I have a stroke. They know that I only go to one certain hospital. So when they show up to pick me up and take me there, it's not a big complication. It's like, okay, we got Denise, and they know my emergency contact. So it's really important prior to having emergency situation, but to also follow up to make sure that if you're aware of what happened, should it happen again, whatever your disability is, it's great to show those information so that they'll be more equipped to take care of you in the best way.
So true. So I appreciate you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Go ahead, Denise.
I had a question for you. Do you find that people with aphasia do better reading or speaking? If they're like, what is a better tool of communication? Is like, what's easier generally for people with aphasia?
Well, if you had a stroke or you live with aphasia, it can affect your reading, writing, comprehension, and writing. It may be one or all. So like if you wanted to have a conversation with me, I have anomic aphasia. I'd rather you just have a verbal conversation, make eye to eye with me, and I can answer the question. If you wanted, if I had Broca or Warnicki, you may want to write that down or show me a picture and give me a chance. So that's why I said, ask the person you're working with, or to what is the best tool for communication for you. I also like to wear an earbud to block out some of the other noise so that I can focus on what's going on, because I am overstimulated by a lot of noise if I go to big events or big groups, and I will put an earbud in one to block out some of the noise and where so I can focus on what's going on with the conversation, because you do pick up all the other noise. But yeah, it's really, very individualized.
It's good to know what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another person. So.
As I said, my voice came back, and most of the people with aphasia, anomic is very, most people can get through life. I mean, a lot of us go back to work. Some of us don't. Some of us volunteer. But there's other people that don't go out in the community because it's so much of a battle. So that's why we do Just Ask, because the isolation was tremendous for me. I was a mental health counselor. I worked with kids. I was out every day, and then all of a sudden, I had nothing. It was devastating that you don't have your pay, you don't have your insurance, you don't have you don't have your friends. After the first 6 months, everybody wants to help you and everything, and then after that, everybody it dwindles down. And then it was a lot of work to learn to read again, to write again, to speak again. And you pick, and you have to learn to walk again, and you have to, have vision again. So it's the first 2 years, I say, are the most struggling part of having a stroke and with aphasia. And then once you've done this acceptance of where you are and find a new purpose or find something that you find enjoyable, keep going. So some of these groups that we're talking about, it is really helpful for somebody to volunteer at a hospital, somebody go to some of these other groups. And a lot of these programs need to redirect people to these different types of services that they can be involved in.
So, excuse me, Denise, you had mentioned that a lot of times after the first 6 months, people kind of drop off. Do you find that when an individual has a brain injury that has caused aphasia, is it better from the professional side to say, tell your client, like, it is what it is, and, just kind of, it's as good as it's going to get and figure it out? Or is it better from the professional side to tell your client, it is what it is right now, but the brain has the ability to find other mechanisms, so you might be able to communicate more effectively in the future? Which
Yeah.
is better from a professional side? Because I know that you were a master's level clinician. Well, you still are a master's level clinician. So you've been on both sides.
Well, I think the biggest challenge word is when you when you tell people you've plateaued, it's not going to improve, or this is as good as it gets, you've done so good, that's about it. Nobody wants to hear that that's enough. I mean, some people are really determined, don't tell me that, I'll keep doing it, and I'm going to get better. And then there's other people say, well, that's it. Why am I going to waste my time doing all of this other work? Again, plasticity in the brain does reroute. It finds different way of doing things. And the brain takes a lot of time to heal. Healing is sleeping. People, it is a medicine. We don't have a quick pill for it or anything, but you need to sleep. If your body says it needs to sleep, that's how you get better. And then you find what you're doing and you practice, practice, practice. I would encourage some of the clients to look at videos of people improving. Show them some of these people I was just talking to about. We also have Senator Fetterman. He's a senator and has aphasia. Look at that. He's still working and doing more, and he does all different types of accommodation tools when he does presentations and when he's doing interviews. You'll see he has the screen. He follows reading what's going on as he's having this conversation so he can process it. We also have Sharon Stone. She has aphasia. The first few years of her life was really devastating, but she's moved and done things differently. She may not act the way she used to or do that, but she does other work in the writing books and doing other things. So again, finding a new way of doing things, giving them other tools, and again, go back to communication. You can't improve until you know the right tools to help you in that direction. Never give up is what I tell any members. Don't give up. Just find a different way of doing it.
I would imagine if you are someone's partner, that person that you used to sit across the table from and have that cup of coffee, and now your partner can't speak to you. Are there support groups for the care partners?
Absolutely. There's every hospital in Rhode Island has a stroke group. Most of them have a care partner group, but just ask. We work with Rhode Island Hospital and we run a care partner group once a month. So it actually works with, if you've had a stroke, whether you've had aphasia, they're all care partners. They all need to find a support group to go to. And they also need to know what kind of other tools and what worked for them, what didn't work for them, kind of working out the kink between each other. Because their life has been devastated too. I mean, their life has been changed. They have all different jobs and roles that they never had to do before. That was their partner's job. How do I do that? They need to have the tools and support so that they can stay together I think there's a high percentage of people who've had a stroke that have a divorce, which is devastating to a lot of people. If you've had a stroke and your partner can't deal with it and you're left alone, that's, you know, it's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard to get a
absolutely.
divorce at anything, but to have it when you have a disability and that kind of be the straw that broke the camel's back is really hard.
Yep. And your conference, when is your conference? How much is your conference?
The conference is in June. It's aphasia, the only aphasia conference here in Rhode Island. We do it every Saturday morning from 9:30 to 11, and it is called the Living the Journey with Aphasia. We have professionals throughout the United States. We have PhDs, doctors from aphasia. We have care partners presenting. We have people with aphasia with their speech, their stories being told. And we also have the first session is talking about aphasia and giving a very detailed definition for people. When I had my stroke, I wanted people to tell me what I needed to do, and I couldn't afford a webinar, couldn't afford that stuff. So I said, if I ever got better, I'm going to share this information, and nobody should ever have to pay to learn about their disability. So we continue to do this free conference, and this will be our 6th year running it. So please check out the website, register. It's free. Share it with your professionals, share it with your family. And it is also recorded. And we hope to be able to share it on our website for people to look at it again.
It's interesting, 10 or 15 years ago, before you had your stroke, would you have ever expected that you would be a national speaker?
No, no, but I've enjoyed to travel. I've presented at OSHA. I've presented at leaderships, and I've also presented here at the stroke the neurologist symposium in Rhode Island with all the neurologists explaining the aphasia point of view from a client's view and talking about the mental health piece.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you were able to come on today. I did put a link for the conference in the chat, as well as some additional resources there for folks. If you want, if it's okay with you, Denise, I can share your slides. I can share a recording of this out with everybody who's put their emails over in the chat. I would be interested in hearing, what do people want to learn more about? Is there interest in learning about the different types of care that may be available for your clients, or how to pay for some of the home modifications if people are not eligible for the Ocean State Center for Independent Living modifications? What would folks in this group like to learn more about? What topics are you seeing pop up out there?
One that I'm seeing is still transportation. I know it's a tough, hot thing, but there's other types of transportation too. So learning about transportation and how to work through the system, what paperwork you need to fill out, how to make it easy for somebody to do it. I think that would be a great tool for professionals to share people with a disability.
Awesome. Anybody else? Okay, we got Alicia seconding the transportation. Any concerns about medication or legal considerations or financial considerations? Anything at all? Hoarding disorder, mental illness, aging in place. All right. Dental services, good one. Okay, finance, budgeting. This is super helpful. And originally I was thinking of taking July and August off from the group, but it seems like there's a lot of different topics that people want. So what are your thoughts about having the meeting in July and August and just have it be all year? Yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down, anything?
I'd say yes, Deb.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you let me tell my story, and please contact me if there's anything else I can do to help. or to work any of the individuals that are currently living with aphasia and need some support.
Absolutely. And how did you hear about this meeting? Because I haven't marketed it heavily.
Maybe we should tag people. Hi, can you tell us how you find this? Amy, how did you find this program?
There you go.
I just answered, but it was email. I got an
Awesome.
email from somewhere and I was like, oh, that looks cool. So
Very good. So there's Denise's contact information.
You guys look like you're on a mission.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Thank
See if
you,
I can
Amy.
Copy that.
You always need the first person to start talking.
All right, we've got 3 minutes left. I can give you 3 minutes back in your busy day and see you next month, and share the Zoom meeting, share the link, share the calendar. It's open to everybody. I want to make sure that we're trying to get the information that people want to know about, and work in that direction versus say, here's what I want to give you. So I really want this to be an interactive group. So please share.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Denise.
Thank
All right.
you.
All right, everybody, enjoy your extra 3 minutes of your day.
Thank you. Take care.
Deb, call me.